There is a canyon in the western United States that the government doesn't want you to know about, not because of what's in it, because of what crossing into it does to you. I found the line, and I stepped over it. Most forbidden places are forbidden for a reason you can see from a distance. Military installations, nuclear sites, private property with visible boundaries. But this canyon isn't like that. The prohibition exists in a category most people don't know exists, a place where you can stand on legal ground and with a single step forward become a trespasser, where the law doesn't announce itself with fences, it announces itself with silence. The Paria Rimrocks Canyon lies on the Utah-Arizona border, approximately 87 miles north of Marble Canyon. The restricted zone covers roughly 300 acres. To put that in scale, that's 500 football fields of forbidden ground. But the actual line, the threshold where you cross from public land into protected archaeological preserve, is so precise, so unmarked, that most people who hike toward it never realize they've walked past it until they are already 3 miles in. I'm not here to tell you I committed a crime. I'm here to tell you what happened in the 90 seconds after I knew I was crossing one. Because something changes in you the moment the ground beneath your feet becomes legally consequential, and something in that canyon knew I'd arrived. The approach took 4 hours. The canyon revealed itself gradually, first as a geological rumor in the landscape, then as a cut in the earth, then as a place that seemed to exist in a different temporal register than the world above it. The walls rose 200 feet above the canyon floor. To visualize that, that's 120 stories. That's 4 times the height of the Statue of Liberty stacked vertically. And the light down there moves differently. It doesn't flood the canyon, it seeps into it. Like the earth is slowly drinking daylight and converting it into something else. I knew where the line was because I'd studied the maps obsessively. The boundary is marked on USC's topographic maps, a thin purple line that looks insignificant until you realize it divides the world into places you're allowed to know and places you're not. The restriction exists to protect archaeological sites, ancestral sites, places where the past is still present if you're quiet enough to listen. What they don't tell you is how your body knows. Before your mind catches up to the transgression, your nervous system already registers it. Your breathing changes, your proprioception shifts. Suddenly, every step is a choice instead of a default. I was recording audio. The lavalier mic was clipped to my chest, capturing everything. And at the moment my right foot crossed the invisible line, the exact step from the last legal ground to the first illegal ground, I stopped. Not because I heard a sound, because my lungs did. There was a sharp inhale caught on the microphone, the kind of breath you take when you realize you've done something irreversible. Then silence, a full 3 seconds of silence where breathing should have continued. The microphone caught the count of it. My body had registered the crossing before my mind had fully consented to it. When I turned to look back, I could still see the legal world. The plateau I'd descended from was visible above the canyon rim. The sun was hitting it at a different angle now. It looked like a different planet. In the 90 seconds it had taken me to descend into the canyon, the world I'd left behind had become foreign. Not because anything about it had changed, because something about me had. The canyon itself opened then. The walls curved around me, and for the first time I was fully committed. The last legal step was no longer accessible. The canyon had closed behind me. What I found inside wasn't a discovery in the sense that archaeology understands discovery. It wasn't artifacts or pottery or the physical remnants of human occupation. What I found was the feeling of a place that had been waiting. The canyon contained evidence, unmistakable evidence, that people had known this ground intimately, that they had understood it as a calendar, as a teaching space, as a place where the cosmos could be read. There were astronomical alignments carved into the rock faces, markers that tracked the movements of Venus over 2,000-year cycles, a site that required astronomical literacy to have built, which means it required institutional knowledge spanning generations. But here is what the canyon actually revealed. We live in a world where the old assumption that every inch of Earth has been mapped, walked, and documented is a comfortable fiction. There are still places that remain intentionally unknown, not because they are hidden, because we've chosen not to look, because the prohibition itself is a form of knowledge. The knowledge that some places don't exist to be discovered, they exist to be left alone. The boundary I crossed wasn't just a legal line. It was a perceptual threshold. It marked the difference between the world as a commodity to be explored and the world as a sacred space to be protected. And the moment I crossed it, I became aware that crossing it meant something, that there were still consequences for transgression, that the entire framing of Earth as an open map waiting for explorers to fill in the blanks is a 500-year-old colonial premise that the Earth itself is slowly refuting. When I emerged 4 hours later, when I climbed back out and stepped back onto the legal plateau, nothing had changed about the landscape. Everything had changed about my understanding of it. The Forbidden Canyon exists because someone in the past decided that not all discoveries belong to the person who happens to stumble into them, that some knowledge is meant to be carried forward by the people for whom it was always meant, and that the Earth has a right to keep its secrets. The real mystery isn't what's in the canyon. It's that in 2026, with satellites and drones and a technological apparatus that can resolve objects smaller than a shoe, we've still chosen to leave some places unknown, still enforced boundaries around knowledge, still insisted that transgression has consequences. That's not geology, that's resistance. That's the world pushing back against the assumption that everything can be known. The implications of that are still opening in me, still widening. And I think that's exactly the point.